These are the Arrtx Acrylic Brush Markers. I'm going to give you 7 ways to fill your notebook using these to see if these markers might be a good fit for you. A few of my subscribers wanted to see me try these, so when Arrtx reached out to send me their markers, I said yes, and then I was surprised they sent me the bullet tip markers. But don't worry, maybe they saw that video because they recently sent me the brush markers. Before we start filling our notebook, let's talk about the details of this brush tip. It's a medium to large size. This is acrylic paint. The paint seems fine right now. We'll get more into that. And it is a very soft tip. So I'm noticing that it's actually not very bouncy. It's not snapping back as much as I would like. It's not terrible. It's just a little bit squishy, maybe. It's not the worst brush tip that I've had. It's just kind of soft and squishy, not the most amazing. And I like to test the size, so I'm trying for small lettering, and it is kind of difficult to get small lettering. And then to do large lettering, this is not a very big brush tip, so it's like more of a medium size, but the large looks better than the small. And then I sped up this part really fast. I'm putting the stickers on the bottom of the markers just to keep track of the colors. The numbers are kind of weird. It doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason to it. And then it also comes with these other color stickers, so I tried putting it somewhere on the pen, maybe on the lid, maybe down here on the bottom, and no, changed my mind, put it back, not gonna use it. But now let's take a look at this brush tip compared to a few other brush pens that you may know. We've got the Tombow dual brush pen, so that one is a very large tip. The Karen marker, and that one is also very large, much bigger. And then the Sharpie Creative marker, this one has the same paint. It's that acrylic paint. But the brush tip is pretty different, and the Arrtx is much softer, a little bit more floppy. Even though the brush tip is not my favorite, I do love how many colors they come in, and this is just one set. You can also purchase other color sets as well. Here I'm just testing for the basic strokes to see how well it does, and I can get a really thick downstroke, but it's hard to press and it doesn't snap back as much, so it's going to be harder to get really chunky lettering. But for the first time doing the basic strokes, I think it works really well. I think these markers will wear out pretty quickly. In order to do our 7 pages of our notebook, we need to choose the colors first. So I am swatching the entire set, and then I'm going to choose from these colors which ones I want to use in my 7 pages. And in the entire 60 colors, there were 2 markers that were totally dried out. This one, number 23, and I was really sad. I love that pink. Another one is the green one coming up. I must have just gotten defective markers. The rest of the colors are pretty good. I'm going to show you a little bit more how opaque they are when we get into the pages. Even though I don't love the numbers for each marker because I don't understand what the method of them is, I am glad that there is a way to know what they are because there are so many colors, so there needs to be names somehow. So I guess numbers are going to have to do with these. Now, to choose the colors, I'm looking over all of the swatches, and these ones are my first favorites, so I'm going to lay them out and see how they look all together. And because there's so many colors, I'm experimenting, choosing different ones. It actually took me a really long time, which I guess is a good problem that you have so many colors to choose from. Here are the colors that I ended up choosing. There are 14. I decided to do 2 of each color of the rainbow, although I use pink for red, and then I do use pink at the end as well. Because there were so many colors, I could have done a really vibrant, bright rainbow. This one is a little more pastel, and I liked that I could choose my own shades of colors instead of only having a pack of 12 where the colors are what they are. So that is definitely a bonus of these. For my last pink, I wanted to use a lighter pink that was more pastel, but remember it was the dried out one. I dipped it in water and it didn't work. So I had to use the brighter pink, and that's okay. So if you want to join me, choose 14 colors, and what we're going to do to fill our notebook, all of the ideas are inspired by things found in my backyard. So the first one is inspired by leaves. The weather has been beautiful. My kids and I have been spending lots of time in my backyard, and I wanted to take some of that into my journal. And you don't have to know how to draw really well, so just do a basic leaf shape. I'm using my pencil first, always. I'm doing 14 stripes because I'm going to do the rainbow leaf. So this is not a realistic leaf at all. And that is what I want. I want to fill my pages with rainbow inspired by the backyard, nature. So one thought on these markers, I'm noticing that they're not super opaque. There are some of the darker colors that are a little more opaque, but they're definitely showing the pencil through. So I have to do several layers. And then I went in with my gray. I wanted a dark stem because I'm going to do the word in the center. It's going to be a little word. And what's nice about using the gray, I can cover up the edges and make a really clean, smooth edge in the center of my leaf. Then I also wanted to clean up some of the edges around my leaf, so I'm using white. It's not the most opaque, like I said before, so I just have to do several layers, and it is working. You can see the white around it. It's subtle, but it's like a white highlight outlining my leaf. And now we are going in with the word. I am doing the word growing, and I'm using the white on top of the gray. It does show up, but I am going over it a few times once it dries so that the white stands out even more. And this is little tiny lettering. It's really subtle. I love how this rainbow leaf turned out. And for the next page, it's inspired by water, so I am going to stop talking and let you listen. Isn't the sound of water so relaxing? I penciled out some wavy lines, and I am using my kneaded eraser to erase them so that you can't see through the marker as much. And I'm just starting with my rainbow colors at the very top and working my way down. And the wavy lines that I did, they kind of go zigzaggy. So it's almost like rolling mountains, hills, but the water, it was like that part of the water, almost a waterfall, but just over a little rock that was flowing down. That was the inspiration for this one. And I'm noticing these markers are a little bit streaky. They're leaving streaks as I'm going over it, and that is because they are not fully opaque. I like it in this piece because it adds to the flow. So as long as I'm doing the stripes in the line that I want them, then it actually adds to this piece. But I can see how it wouldn't work for everything you're going to color. Oh, these colors are so much fun. And you can see they do not bleed through, but they are warping the paper slightly. And I'm using my Arch and Olive notebook, so very few things actually bleed through here. But these markers, I don't think they would bleed through very much on thin paper either. Next, it's time for the word, and I chose the word flow because that is the whole message behind this piece. And I'm just doing an uppercase, bold print style. I'm using my white, and I am doing a few layers to get it to be more opaque. With a few layers of that white, it is really standing out against the colorful background. When I showed this to my daughter, she said, "You should add stars." So here I'm adding stars, even though it's in the water, but that's okay. It's my abstract interpretation. And I used a light yellow. So I didn't want to use the white. I wanted the word to stand out as the white. So this is a very cream light yellow for the stars. And then also some polka dots. And I love how this turned out. It's so bright and flowy. It might be my favorite of these 7 pages. It's either this one or the last one. You'll have to let me know which one you want to try. The third page is inspired by this stump, and it is a very loose interpretation. You're going to see what I mean. I am doing the stripes around. I just drew a wobbly circle kind of stump looking thing. And then my main goal with this is to just have the rings. And so obviously it does not look like a stump with all of the rainbow colors, but I just wanted these rings. That was my inspiration. And this did fill with 14 colors. I don't know how it perfectly happened to use the 14 colors. I did not plan that. I just started on the outside and started working my way in to the center, and it happened to be perfectly this amount of colors. And like I said, this isn't exactly like a stump. This could look like some kind of groovy flower or just a weird little blobby shape. So use it how you would like. I just love the meaning of the rings on the trees, that it just takes so much time to grow, and we may feel like we are growing so slowly, but over time we'll look back and see all of those rings and see the beautiful growth that we've had in our lives. Because this is a small shape, I didn't want to cover any of it up using white lettering on top. So I'm doing the lettering on the outside with gray, and I'm doing take your time to remember that growing slowly is the only way to go, and it is a beautiful path. And this is a great blobby, colorful shape to add to your notebook. The next page is inspired by grass, something so simple that we can take for granted, and yeah, it can be something really beautiful. And this is the most simple page of the entire video. It's literally just making stripes like grass. And then I'm going to do a word at the bottom. So my inspiration with grass, I just learned from Joshua Milburn from the Minimalists about this thing called earthing or grounding, where you are connecting to the energies of the earth by walking barefoot in the grass outside in your yard more often. And I have been doing it lately just because I'm out with my kids a lot in the beautiful weather, and I have been loving it. I don't know if I'm seeing the benefits that Joshua Milburn, but I do know I am seeing benefits of being in nature. It is so calming. With all the stresses of life, being in nature reminds me to slow down and focus on what's really important. And it's nice to have a simple, quick and easy idea for your notebook. And for number 5, it's rocks. My son is at that toddler age right now where he loves rocks. So I spend a lot of my time looking at rocks. And this page, once again, is going to be really loose inspiration from rocks. So I'm just doing these different shapes. I wanted it to be like a gravel path where all the rocks are clumped together. So I just drew a bunch of squiggly shapes as if they were rocks and stacked them on top of each other. And now with my colors, instead of doing a rainbow gradient like I usually do, I counted how many rocks I have, and I had enough for about 2 rocks per color. So I'm just doing it really randomly just so that none of the same color will touch. And I'm choosing random rocks to make the different colors, and I didn't know if I was gonna like how this color placement would work, and I like it mostly. The problem is it's not my regular rainbow gradient, so it just looks a little different for me. It's fine, it's just not my normal. But these markers do a great job at filling in larger spaces. It was really easy to color in all of these rocks and to get tiny lines where I needed to in the cracks and crevices, and then do larger lines because of that flexible brush tip. So even though these are just okay for hand lettering, I mean, they work for hand lettering, but they're not the best brush tip, but these are really great for coloring, filling in large spaces like this. I am really enjoying filling a background with these markers. And then with the words that I'm hand lettering, I had to do "You rock" just because it's a funny little thing with the rocks. This one took longer than the grass, but it was a lot of fun, and it's still really simple. That was a splash, obviously. My kids loved throwing rocks in the water, watching the splash. So that is the inspiration for this page, and it's next to the rock page. So for this page, first you're just going to draw different blobs that kind of look like splashes. And once again, it's a very loose interpretation of a splash. It's kind of like a groovy flower, splat, blob, slimy monster shape. And I drew 6 of them because I'm going to do the word splash within these, and splash has 6 letters. And I thought it would be cool to fill up the entire background of the page. Turns out these maybe aren't the best to fill up a whole page. It's really streaky. And on this page, it's not really working with the design. Like, it doesn't look like I did it on purpose. Maybe if I was using a lighter color, it would look better. But for the inside of the splashes, I'm using different rainbow colors, and I'm only using 6. I'm not doing the full 14 that I have. And these ones filled in pretty great. They look good. So it's just something about maybe that color I used on the outside or the larger space that I was filling in. And then I'm using that gray. Once again, I've really been loving this dark gray to do the letters. And I'm doing an uppercase print style. And you know, it turned out all right. This one's not my favorite page in this video, but not every single thing that you create is going to be your favorite. let's keep creating anyway. For number 7, the inspiration is that bridge. And I'm going to tell you right now, I do have a bonus page after number 7. I just couldn't resist. So for the bridge, I still wanted it to be that loose interpretation, abstract look, and I'm doing the water as rainbow. So if you're going to do this one, just do a wavy line. I did draw out basically where I wanted my river to be, and then I'm leaving that spot at the top for the bridge. And doing wavy stripes like this is something that I really love to do, and these markers are great. They're working really well for this. For the bridge, I'm using this light brown tan color. This seemed an appropriate color for the bridge. And then I'm going to do the brown for the lettering this time. For the words, I was inspired from the book The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. I've been reading that lately, and it's basically about how phones are hurting our mental health, and especially in the coming generation as we're using phones more instead of playing. And one of the things he mentions is this idea from Dr. Keltner about the 8 wonders of life and the power of awe, and basically how healing it can be for us to experience the wonders of life, one of them being nature. In the word "the," I wanted to show you at the curves, there's a little fray. You can see it's not quite smooth. This is a brand new marker, first time I'm using it. So that's what I mean when it's not the most perfect marker for brush lettering. It's little details like that that bug me, but may not bug everybody else. But I have been loving these markers for the backgrounds. I thought it was fitting to have the power of awe in these nature-inspired pages. Like I said, I have a bonus. Look at these trees, that blue sky right there. It's like framed around this circle area, and I thought that would be perfect to have a word right there. So once again, loose interpretation of the leaves around it, all the different types of leaves and colors, and mine are just rainbow vines. And I am lettering the word exhale because breathing deeply in nature is so soothing and relaxing. And that's also how I feel about lettering and filling my journal with these beautiful pages, just using my creativity. And I hope you can feel that today. Sometimes all you need is an idea to get started. When you're ready for more ideas, I have this video right here where you'll see 10 ideas with the Sharpie Creative Markers. I'll see you there.